Hey everybody, Dr. Ryan Dunlop here from Full Arch Masters, and I'm here at the conclusion of yet another Full Arch Masters Flagship course. It's February 2024, and we just wrapped up another amazing flagship course with an incredible team of doctors, administrative people, laboratory technicians, assistants on this 4-day journey. And I'm joined today by 3 of the doctors that just went through this course. You've not technically done yet. You still have a few hours to pack a little information in. But just tell us who you are and where you're from and kind of your basic background in full arch dentistry.
I'm Dr. Greg Williams. I've been practicing in full arch dentistry for the last about 15 years. My practice is in Tigard, Oregon. Mm-hmm. And we came to this course just to learn how to be better at the full arch dentistry that we do. We wanted to see how we can put things together, look at some of the newer technology that's out there. We're kind of a mix between digital and analog in our procedures, and we wanted to find ways to become more digital. We do better, more predictably, faster, easier, and more predictably for the patients.
Awesome. That's the right expectation. Doc, how about you?
Well, as someone once said earlier in the program, I'm an analog dentist living in a digital world. So I went out and bought all this equipment and realized I didn't know how to use it. So I found Full Arch Masters at a conference. I was very excited about what they had to say and how they did things. It really took the education from A to Z. So now me and my staff feel fully confident that we can go back and get to work, treating our patients much faster and a much easier experience for all of those involved.
So that's amazing. Speaking of team, who's sitting next to you there?
So, Dr. Thomas Suit. Just really excited to be here to be able to get started into my full arch journey with Dr. Frazier. Mm-hmm. Just looking forward to be able to change some lives, like the things we'll be able to see here during the course, right, and the impact that it really makes on the patients and their families and loved ones.
Awesome. So this side of the room, I feel like we got a little gray. We're a little bit war torn. We've been through a little bit. On that side of the room, he looks really fresh and young. His skin's real tight, lots of collagen. Just briefly talk about the transfer of information. You know, you guys have been in this a little longer like me. He's kind of new. What is this new generation of dentistry going to do for your offices?
You're talking about the new generation of digital dentistry?
Yeah, digital technology and the workflow that you saw this week.
So my own personal experience, I knocked a couple teeth out when I was a teenager, and I'm a dental implant patient myself.
Okay.
And I had implants placed almost 30 years ago. The process that was used 30 years ago is not the same process that we use today.
Thankfully,
right? And so I think the process was about 2 years from extraction to delivery. And we know now it doesn't have to take that long.
Right.
So my whole career, I'm always looking for ways that we can improve and do implant dentistry. For how's this going to help in my practice? We've just like the other doctor, we've purchased digital equipment. We're using it, but not to the capacity that it's been designed to use. And so a lot of it is just a matter of learning how to use the technology properly. And the best thing about this course is you have the team there.
Right.
And it's easy for me to learn something, but if I don't have my team trained on it as well and have us all on the same page, it's very difficult to implement it. And so moving forward, we have come up with kind of our target list of the things that we want to change, we want to do differently, the technology we need to purchase to make things a little bit more predictable and more seamless.
Right.
And most importantly, the education we have now of how to put those pieces together. So for my patients, I think we've always delivered great dentistry, but now we'll be able to do it more predictably and faster, cutting out some of the analog steps that are now just redundant that you can accomplish.
You can bypass a lot of that
with the technology and using the capacity of the technology to the extent it was designed for.
Awesome. Doc, you came with a good sized team. You have people here and you have this young fella here. What is the transition for you and your office like?
Well, I'll say this. Now that I feel much younger because I'm with the digital age, I feel like it's going to be a lot easier to attract younger doctors because now I feel like I'm on the same page with them. There was once upon a time where I would go to conferences and be the youngest doctor in the room and feel like these guys are fit. What? We don't want to hear that. And here I am.
Yeah.
And so it's always a great challenge that to stop what you've done a certain way and change. because you're so comfortable in doing it. But what I began to notice is that I got a little bit bored with what I was doing and how I was doing it. And I have a sense of excitement now of, I've got a challenge to do something new, learn it, master it, and help people with it.
That's amazing. And for you, coming into his practice, and he's, established and been doing this for a very long time, what's your mindset going to be like going back kind of at the onset of your journey?
Well, I just know that, going into it, we're going to be doing it the most modern way that it can be done.
Right.
The most efficient, very efficient, and just creates a great product for the patient. Right. And I'm just glad to be able to get this kind of a start.
I applaud you, man. You're starting way at the top, and you're starting in the right place. So that's good. You guys got exposed to a lot of technology during this course. Like it's not just one piece of technology that we are pushing, right? We try to show you guys a variety of different methodologies to get to the result, which is what you said, a high quality prosthetic for the patient. How important do you think it is to see that, to be exposed to multiple methodologies? And did it open your eyes onto some things you could do differently?
It's difficult to be exposed to different methodologies, right? Because it's unusual in a clinical setting to be able to have representatives or markets from competitors even, right, that are standing alongside each other. And so to be able to use different products from different competitors and use them side by side gives you I think a step above advantage, because you can see, how does that work? Do I like that compared to this other system? And without there being a long delay from one to the other. I think I might repeat part of the question, make sure I'm answering the right question.
So you pretty much answered it. Is we want to show people multiple methodologies and help them choose the one that's the most appropriate for the office. So you mentioned before that you already had some of this equipment. Was there anything that you saw during this course that really opened your eyes to something new that you didn't know existed?
I don't know if there's anything new that I didn't know existed. It was more of, I knew things existed, but how to actually use them and how quick they work. We do 3D printing, for instance, but we don't have some of the faster printers that are now in the market, and to be able to see the products and how to convert and, for instance, make your own temporaries instead of relying on laboratory to use some of those things.
Right.
In some ways, we've tried to pull away from some of the laboratory and the time delays, but seeing how to actually put it together makes a lot more sense than buying the new equipment and then wondering, now how do I incorporate this? And the fact that you have a team that's also trained on it in the laboratory side that can help us down the road in whatever capacity we want help with. Is it design? Is it designing printing? Is it design printing milling?
Right.
And you can help us transition to whatever capacity that I want to use the technology. There's a backup team that's already trained and knows how to do it and can answer questions. And when I send scans or things, there's a lab that I know knows how to handle that, because we've had that problem in the past.
Right. They don't know what they're doing.
We purchase a system. I send the scans over to a lab, and they're like, what do I do with this?
Right.
And so to have a backup lab that understands what we're working with at the same time, and my lab technician, it gives me options that I didn't have before.
Exactly. Well, he mentioned my team. So when you came to this course, Doc, you got to meet not just me, not just my core people, but a whole team of 8, 10, or 15 people, whatever, that were interacting with you and interacting with your team. What was your experience like engaging yourself with my whole team?
Well, there's one individual that stands out to me, and
give him a shout out.
Yeah. What's his name?
Brendan.
So I'm in the lab talking to Brendan, and I said, well, how long have you been doing this? How'd you get into this? He says, dude, I was flipping burgers 3 years ago.
Right.
And I looked at him and I said, you are shitting me. And just his professionalism, his attitude, his eagerness to help. I'm like, I don't get that at my McDonald's.
Right. Not only did he get a career, he got a girlfriend who works here too. He's got a great job. So, Brandon, if you're listening to this, man, you owe me big time.
Right.
make sure he watches that.
You just get burgers once in a while.
From burgers to a great girlfriend and a good career. So Full Arch Masters was good to you, right? Okay, yeah. So I mean, Brandon deserves a shout out.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I think all my team members they embrace that mentality too, and honestly, most of them are homegrown. And I think that's a message to you guys too: is empower your people. And if you come across somebody who's a dental assistant, receptionist, someone who's working in a lab but not doing anything, you see that spark in them, and they're teachable and they're leadable, and then you lead, and then the ones that follow your ideology will thrive, and that's always been my
I'm going to flip this around and just ask you a question. I've been just wondering, how do you hone your leadership skills?
Me personally?
Yeah.
Good question. Lots of bourbon. I remember when I was in high school, I was a pretty good student. I was a decent athlete. I was not in this biggest social group, but I was social. I had a job at a law firm, and a friend hooked me up with an after-school job. And it was a relatively big law firm, and there were maybe 4 or 5 lawyers. And they all had secretaries underneath, paralegals and secretaries, and then there was administrative staff. And I used to go in there in the afternoons, and I would see that there was like maybe 1 or 2 lawyers in that law firm who were really cool people. And as a result of them being really kind of inspiring people, the people that worked for them were the cooler ones. And when I looked at some of the other attorneys, they were just nasty people. Like they were mean, they were always fighting with everybody. And then I noticed that their paralegals and their secretaries had emulated the same behaviors. So there was always fighting between the people in the office, and I could see from an outsider perspective that the tone set by the attorneys who were in the leadership position set the tone for every single person that worked, under them or under them in the ladder. And then I was the bottom feeder. I was just entering trash and everything. But I noticed how differently people treated me based on who their leader was. And so that just really struck a chord with me when I was 16, 17, 18 years old. And so I told myself, I said, if and when I ever get to a position where I'm in a leadership role, I want to be the one that sets the tone in a positive and supportive way. And then the people who embrace that ideology and mentality will naturally follow. Yeah. And the ones that don't, the ones that have their own baggage or their own issues, by nature, they just kind of fall off the marching band, So that's what I focus on, is trying to be the most positive and supportive leader I can be. And the people who stick around are the ones that embrace that same mentality. So that would be my kind of like off the shoulder answer to that.
Awesome.
I do remember that feeling of noticing that dichotomy in the law office, and it translates into real life. How you act affects how your children act, and how you act affects how your team members act. And it's important to check that at the door, and everybody has problems, everybody has issues in their life, but not letting that affect your day-to-day work performance is something that I try to work on. I'm not always good at it, but I try. But I did want to just reinforce, if I can get a quick comment from you guys about how important it is to bring team members to this course. So how important is it to bring your team to a course like this?
That's a very good question. And I think it's a question that not enough dentists actually ask themselves. And there's a lot of education for dentists out there.
Right.
And there's a lot of education. There's some education for dentists and hygienists out. But I sit on some education boards of our state Academy of General Dentistry, for instance. I'm on an education committee for one of the CE clubs that I belong to. And I'm always pushing for more education for the team.
Right.
Because what I found is that if I can get the team to be all on the same page, then you have the chance of making changes. When I've come back from a course and I've learned something new and exciting, and my team, they're engaged and they want to learn, they'll try to sit me down and say, "What'd you learn? Tell us what you learned." But there's never time to teach it because
you're back.
Because I only earn when the drill's turning, So we spend so much time doing the dentistry, we don't spend enough time at education with our teams. And so, how critical is it? I can't imagine doing full arch dentistry. If you need somebody who suctions spit for you because you're doing fillings and maybe a cleaning now and then, then there's no reason to have
that's
you can train somebody off the street to do that.
Right.
But if you want to do any kind of high level dentistry where you're changing lives, where you're really changing someone's life, where you're making somebody a new smile or replacing that tooth and recreating hope for that person, that requires a team from the time the phone is answered until the time the patient walks out the door that knows how to handle and move that patient on. Because I'm only good at one thing, and that's doing the dentistry.
I think you're better at more. But I'll let you go.
But my team are the ones that are going to interact with that patient 90% of the time. And so I see them for 10 or 15 minutes to do the procedure. My team is the one that's helped them realize what's possible. They're the ones that are encouraging them, that are asking questions, that are answering their phone calls in the afternoon and evening.
Right.
They're the ones that are doing that. And if they don't understand what we're trying to accomplish, if they don't see what we're seeing in these kind of classes, how can they possibly deliver? How can they possibly develop that same vision without the team approach? So I guess I'm a little passionate about that.
That is exactly what I'm looking for. What about you guys? Team, how important is it for you to bring a team to this course?
Well, obviously, very important.
Right.
Teammate here. But what I realize is that when I go away to some course or whatever it is, it energizes me. Right. And so when you bring your team, now the whole office is energized. Right. And when the whole office gets energized, things start to happen.
That's it. And from your perspective, as a team, integral part of the team, what do you think?
So you asked about your staff, and that was this entire course has been really impressive, but that was one of the things, like that'd be the conversation, a part of the conversation on the way back to where we're staying each day. It's just how in tune everybody seemed to be with each other and how much on the same page everybody seems to be. And there's only one way that you do that is that you train together, you learn together, and develop together.
Right. Overcome obstacles together too.
Right. Yeah. So, Dr. Frazier just went off and did courses by himself, or I was just doing which that happens. But
right.
I think it's just, it gets everybody on the same page. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows the end goal. Everybody understands how to get to the end goal.
And the implementation factor.
Exactly.
Being able to get back to your practices and start implementing some of this.
Exactly.
Because that's when one of the biggest pitfalls for us trying to get doctors and offices to get going is the slow implementation of some of this. And so I always tell people that you are the leader of the ship, but they are the implementation specialist. They have to be able to help you implement this as soon as possible. So.
In answer to that particular point, we set a date and put our full arch cases on that date. He's got one, I've got one.
Right.
That's the date that we start.
Right.
Just keep it going.
Turn the ship and we're going to go. Yeah. Super important because it's like Doc said, it's easy to get lost in the drill and it just get back to it. It's like, oh no, I got to do this. And setting a date for yourself to really, really start to implement this stuff is going to help all of you. So, well, that's amazing, guys. I appreciate the feedback. The last question I have is, imagine there's some doc out there who's watching this and he's just on the fence. He doesn't know if he should do it. What would you like to say to a doctor out there who's just thinking, I don't know if I can be a full arch master. I don't know if I can do this. What's any advice to them?
Yeah, don't do it.
Yeah.
There's enough of us out there.
Yeah. There's plenty. We don't need any more. I ran out of green jackets. Sorry,
I got the last jacket.
It's a wrap.
I'm sorry. No, I've always subscribed to the abundance mentality.
Right.
And I would there's enough work to go around.
Oh,
I would much rather have more doctors who are well trained on how to do it. Yeah. Then I have more colleagues I can work with, I can share cases with. When something goes wrong, we can work together. I would say in my career, the biggest regrets I've had are I haven't taken the class earlier than I did. I've always wished I did it sooner.
Right.
And so
same as patience.
Yeah. So what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Just do it.
Just do it. That should be a slogan.
Pick a date. It should be.
Someone should
I'm going to call the shoe company in Portland and
get Nikes on. Any advice, Doc?
I don't know if it's advice, but it's something that happened to me. I do a lot of lecturing, and the last webinar I was on, I put out a survey, and some of the surveys said, he had pictures that were 20 years old. Where's the digital stuff? And I was like, I'm that guy. I'm that guy now. So here I am. I'm no longer that guy.
You're no longer that guy. You know, some fresh content. Any thoughts, Doc?
I would say just come take the course, see what it's about, see it actually happen. You'll realize that you probably do a lot of the little parts individually already.
Right.
Get with somebody who is local to you as well, that you can walk with, and grow from there. Like you said, we set the date, and it's happening.
It's happening. Sink or swim.
That's right.
All right. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of the Full Arch Masters podcast. I'm Dr. Ryan Dunlop, live and in person from Fresno, California, at the completion of yet another successful Full Arch Masters flagship course. This is our second course of 2024, many, many more to come. So stay tuned. Join us next time for more fun, and have yourself a fantastic day.